Well, this past week, I found myself in Atlanta, Georgia, for a conference on preaching. It was a gathering intended to equip us with this very unique time we find ourselves, a landscape that's evolving about how we share the gospel with a new generation. We grappled with the understanding and utilage of artificial intelligence. We talked about the reality of a deeply divided nation and a crucial role the church needs to play in standing for justice and against oppression. I left there going, we undeniably live in a complex time. I was excited to go to this conference because I believe preaching matters. And not just because it's my job and what I do. I think it has an important role in the world. Preaching inspires you to go out. It engages with the world outside here, and it offers tangible hope to those living in darkness. It is a time to declare unequivocally that the story of Jesus Christ still matters. And yet the conference had some memorable moments for the wrong reasons. The very first presenter, right out of the gate, was a video sermon, which did not go over well with 1,600 people who had traveled to hear someone speak. I'm not opposed to video sermons. They have a role in the life of the church moving forward, but it shouldn't be the very first one. The next day, we had a pastor who said, well, I have an earlier flight to catch, so we rushed his sermon in over lunch. But the icing on the cake, so to speak, was the 1 a.m. fire alarm that went off. And all the preachers standing outside for 2 hours while a real fire in the mechanical room blazed. Let's just say that the next morning, there was not enough energy from that pastor to wake us from our slumber. It felt like I was at a preaching conference where the whole time the preaching or the communication of the gospel was being sabotaged. And yet, isn't that the way of the world? We proclaim the story in all situations. Nobody shows up, the gospel still endures. There's a fire, we've got a story to tell. Flight problems, Jesus is still calling us forward. The story persists despite the human messiness in the midst of it. I remember an acquaintance of mine several years ago telling me the story of her buying the album for Jesus Christ Superstar in 1973, and her mother lost her mind. How dare this 21-year-old Andrew Lloyd Webber and this 25-year-old Tim Rice write such sacrilege? Her mother said, it's not true to the gospel, it's interpreted in ways that I don't like, it's sympathetic to Judas Iscariot, how dare they? But it also mirrored the world they were living in by challenging what was happening. This was in the middle of the Vietnam conflict, and you might remember that this musical challenges our contemporary world. Her mother didn't know what to make of that. You might remember Jesus, as portrayed in the movie version, is pretty meek, he's pretty kind. He's supposed to be this triumphant leader, and she said he just wasn't godly enough. And so my friend took all the lyrics from the musical, and she took gospel verses and paired them together so that her mother could see how truly faithful Jesus Christ Superstar is, and her mother was still not satisfied. Because the problem with Jesus Christ Superstar is not the fusion of rock music with this sacred narrative. It's not about giving voice to the marginalized like Judas and Mary Magdalene. The core struggle with it is we have to figure out who Jesus truly is. And I suspect Jesus is going to struggle with us calling him Superstar to begin with. The Jesus we encounter in this musical is so strikingly human. He's sarcastic. He's snarky. He raises his voice and yells. My Jesus, when I read the gospel, never yells. He always speaks in hushed, gentle tones of a shepherd. We see Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane with tears streaming down his face, wrestling with what is about to happen to him, pleading, don't make me do this. Who is Jesus to you? The disciples themselves are grappling with this fundamental question. The early church wrestled with who Jesus was, and we continue to do so today. It's not a historical question. This is our theological task. Who is Jesus to you? You might remember the final song. It's sung by Judas, and I want to play just a brief clip of that. The choir sang it, but I want you to feel the music, and I want you to feel your body wanting to move and to dance.
Every time I look at you, I don't understand why you let the things you did get so out of hand. You'd have managed better if you'd had it planned. Now why'd you choose such a backward time in such a strange land? If you'd come today, you could have reached the whole nation. Israel in 4 BC had no mass communication. Don't you get me wrong. 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 Only wanna know. Only wanna know. Only wanna know. Only wanna know. Only wanna know.
Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, who are you? What have you sacrificed? Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, who are you? What have you sacrificed? Jesus Christ, superstar, do you think you're what they say you are? Jesus Christ, superstar, do you think you're what they say you are?
Out and they do that I want to move, right? Who are you? What do they say you are? Who do you say you are? Who do we say he is? I love this vision of Jesus because he's so authentic. He's so real. One of the historical arguments of the church is this very question. And we as Christian people got together a millennia ago and we go, okay, here's the answer to who Jesus is. He's 100% human and he's 100% divine. I know the math doesn't work there. We just have to put that aside. But I think for Weber and Rice, Jesus is 95% human and 5% divine. This Jesus is honest and real. I value Jesus Christ Superstar because it allows me to see these people as real. And at different points along my life, I've resonated with different characters. There have been moments where I have been Caiaphas, the high priest, not the deep bass voice. I don't have that. That's not what I'm talking about. But the one who sees the desire to have order out of the chaos. I have been Judas, challenging the church to be more than it is, to rise above its failures. I've striven to be Mary, courageous in such fear that debilitates us. And I have been over and over again stumbling and bumbling Peter, who really doesn't have much of a presence in this show. They were human. Jesus was human. Maybe the story is presented in an unorthodox, irreverent, and even heretical way. And I'm okay with that. Because I think Jesus Christ Superstar is not a blasphemous opera. It is the cornerstone of his purpose. And yet, while we're all over here fixated on Jesus the human, Mary is at the tomb. Mary is following Jesus. Mary has not forgotten what he said. Mary is still there. The musical's focus is on Jesus' humanity, which is why it's kind of an interesting ending. Do you remember? There's no resurrection. There's none. Jesus dies. That's the end. But we aren't people of a musical, and we aren't people of Good Friday. We are Easter people. And so here Mary comes in the darkness, and she's trying to find the stone that's in front of the tomb, and she can't find it. She realizes it's not there. It's an empty space. The clothing has been folded up, and in the shadows, Mary becomes the first witness to Jesus' superstar status. She runs back to the upper room and she tells the disciples, he's risen, and the disciples think that it's nonsense, an idle tale. Peter, I think, laughs at Mary until he realizes she's serious. Peter does not trust the first preacher, Mary. He has to go and see for himself. It's kind of ironic that the rock of the church doesn't get the truth of Jesus' resurrection and misses it. But what I love about it is that every follower of Jesus Christ has to take this journey to honestly struggle with Jesus' identity. He's everything he's ever claimed he was. Fully human, walking in our shoes, understanding our struggles, and fully God, our source of hope and resurrection. Judas opened that song with a line that I think we would benefit from taking into the world. Every time I look at you, I don't understand. I don't know that we can fully understand what fully human, fully divine means, but we are called to share that God with the world. I do believe in the enduring power of this musical. I think it has something for our lives. It illuminates something for me. It makes these people real. Now, despite the memorable events at the preaching conference, and there's one I haven't told you about, there was a moment in a silent prayer when at least 100 weather alerts went off at the same time. Now, why isn't it the clergy can figure out how to turn their phones off? I don't know. But I will say, the message of Jesus Christ persevered through technical mishaps, logistical nightmares, and even fires. And after all, that is the point of Superstar. It's the story of a God who breaks through our human mess, the chaos of our world, to be one of us.